My name is Reverend Kylie Renner, and on behalf of the entire One Spiritual Center community, I want to welcome you here today. I am certainly happy it's warmer than it's been the last 2 weeks. So nice to see so many of you that we haven't seen for a few weeks, because, wow, that was cold. Yes, it was. So today is a very special day for this community. It is our 3rd anniversary. Today we turned 3 years old. Yay, us. So we're celebrating that today. Thank you for being here. And before I forget, because I'll tell you why I'm going to forget things today in a minute, but before I forget, we just have a logistical thing that our bathrooms today are not where they normally are, but instead all the way around the back to the room with the high porch and a blue tile next to the door. And there is the doors should be open, and that is where you head if you need to use the restroom. Sorry about that. We have guests staying over in the other spaces, so let's also try not to make them feel really awkward if they come and go through the door that we usually use. Let's not stare, because I'm pretty sure they come out and they'll be like, what the heck is going on? Because it's very, very sound insulated, so I'm not certain they can even hear that there's anything going on out here, which is awesome. All right, so I'm going to tell you why I said that first, because I'm kind of space cadet-y, because I am super, very, 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 very grateful that I got my first vaccine shot yesterday. Yeah, and I'm feeling a little bit tired and spacey this morning. So I know immune responses are what we expect and what we want, and I am super grateful, and we have an interesting morning. So, but we're talking about gratitude and where we've been and where we're going and how all of it fits together. And what a beautiful morning to be celebrating together. So thank you for being here. Thank you for being here for 3 years, if you've been here for 3 years. And we're just going to pray. So just breathing into the beauty of this morning with the sun shining, and the birds chirping, and all of the things that are going on in and around and through us, I just recognize the power and the presence of the One opening us today. Continuing to guide us on this path of opening and giving and receiving, this path of transformation, this path of letting go. And I just recognize the spirit and the love that has drawn us together continues to guide us as we continue to let it open in us even further. And so I celebrate that which has been and that which will be and what is now. And I celebrate the hawk calling across the street. And I celebrate this opportunity just to be present. And I let go. And I let it be. And so it is.
Birds flying high, you know how I feel. Sun up in the sky, but you know how I feel. Breezes drifting by, you know how I feel. It's a new dawn, it's a new day, it's a new life for me, and I'm feeling. Fish in the sea, well, you know how I feel. River running free, well, you know how I feel. Blossom on the tree, you know how I feel. It's a new dawn, it's a new day, it's a new life for me. I'm feeling. Dragonfly out in the sun, you know what I mean. Butterflies are having fun, well, you know what I mean. Sleep in peace when day is done, that is what I mean. So world is a new world and a bold world for me. Stars when you shine, well, you know how I feel. Scent of the pine, you know how I feel. Freedom is mine and I know how I feel. It's a new dawn, it's a new day, it's a new life for me, and I'm feeling. It's a new dawn, it's a new day, it's a new life for me, and I'm feeling.
I've chosen a favorite poem of mine to lead into the meditation this morning. It's called Accepting This by Martin Epo. Yes, it is true. I confessed I have thought great thoughts and sung great songs. All of it rehearsal for the majesty of being held. The dream is awakened when thinking I love you, and life begins when saying I love you, and joy moves like blood when embracing others with love. My efforts now turn from trying to outrun suffering to accepting love wherever I can find it. Stripped of causes and plans and things to strive for, I've discovered everything I could need or ask for is right here in flawed abundance. We cannot eliminate hunger, but we can feed each other. We cannot eliminate loneliness, but we can hold each other. We cannot eliminate pain, but we can live a life of compassion. Ultimately, we are small living things awakened in this stream, not gods who carve out rivers. Like human fish, we are asked to experience meaning in the life that moves through the gill of our heart. There is nothing to do and nowhere to go. Accepting this, we can do everything and go anywhere. And so we just take the energy of this and allow that there is nowhere to go, nothing else to do. And realizing that when we accept this, we can go everywhere and do everything. We allow the meditation to move us today. Thank you so much. I am so very, very grateful for these guys. Hope you guys are too. Yeah. My life would be far less wonderful if I didn't have these people in my life. So grateful. So I've had a really, really interesting week, and it seems like it happens quite often around anniversaries where interesting things just start to show up. So this time of year is particularly potent for me. I have a big birthday coming up, and it just feels like both with spring and with all of that, which is churning and just about to get to the surface. I think a lot of us are feeling like we're about to emerge from something, or there's a chance to, and it's really quite interesting. And so I've been on this kind of gratitude high all week, and some of you follow me on Facebook, so you know that I shared just that I had an experience this last Sunday night where I experienced some of the same stuff that was part of my old life before this community started. And it was a lot of infighting and people just saying whatever they needed to say so they got their way, even if it wasn't true. And just all this like that stuff that none of us want to deal with. And it was great because it didn't really affect me. There was nothing in it that was like something that was going to cause me to lose my peace. But what was also great about it was that I woke up Monday morning with this like, oh my God. And my oh my God was, oh my God, I am so flippin' grateful that it has been years since I had to deal with that kind of bullshit. Like it was that like in the moment I didn't realize what I was in. It wasn't until on the other side of it where I was reflecting back going, oh wow, I am so grateful that my life doesn't look like that anymore. That's not what is expected. And it isn't what is considered what goes with the territory. And it isn't what is expected and called professional, and all kinds of ridiculous things that we've constructed that makes it seem like people's bad behavior is okay. And I've been really just in this sense of gratitude because, I don't know, some of you have been walking this path with me for the last 3 years and know that the genesis of the creation of this community was not exactly undramatic. And for me personally, it was fairly traumatic, in fact. And I've been thinking a lot about that whole experience and what was created out of that for me personally, and what I now know, and so I want to share a little bit about that because I think we get focused sometimes, like Mark Nepo says, that we get so focused on the storm and we start worshiping the storm instead of just experiencing it, and that's very natural. As part of the process, but that there's also part of the process that it starts to realize that the storm has nothing to do with us on some level, and that it is an experience that is clearing us out. So many of us are familiar with this great poem called The Guest House, but I want to share it with you. This being human is a guest house. Every morning a new arrival, a joy, a depression, a meanness. Some momentary awareness comes as an unexpected visitor. Welcome and entertain them all, even if they're a crowd of sorrows who violently sweep your house empty of its furniture. Still treat each guest honorably. He may be clearing you out for some new delight. The dark thought, the shame, the malice. Meet them at the door laughing and invite them in. Be grateful for whoever comes because each has been sent as a guide from beyond. Each. And so there's this really interesting thing we do as humans, which is that we divide out the things that we want to welcome from the things we'd rather not. And we have a very different relationship from the guests that get invited into our life by this bigger picture that we think should be there. We have a very different relationship to those than the ones that come unbidden or feel painful or uninvited. And I think as whole human beings who are being called to experience this fullness of life, that we are being asked, especially in this time of great uncertainty and change, to make sure that we are creating a space for the uninvited guest, for that to enter into our life in a way that doesn't need to create all kinds of drama, doesn't need to create all kinds of that freak out that happens inside of ourselves where we think something has gone drastically wrong. There's an opportunity for us to experience this kind of level of uncertainty as an opportunity to see that truly that was the nature of the whole thing we were doing all along. And that we could have a relationship with creation that was different. And so this is what's so interesting, because what I found over the last 2 years is that my relationship to this whole new thought thing has changed a lot. And Aristotle said it, that in the quest for truth, it would seem better and indeed necessary to give up what is dearest to us. And I feel like I had some notions around a new thought that were actually very, honestly, on some level, dangerous and limiting and damaging. And I've been really focused on making sure that the way that I'm understanding and teaching these principles doesn't continue to perpetuate some of the damage that has been done but by all religion, but specifically New Thought. And so, I've been fighting with New Thought ministers online recently. It's really not probably my most attractive front, but I have to tell you, I get pissed off. And I get pissed off when people start preaching and teaching these principles when it starts to really look like eugenics. And it's really, 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 really freaking sick, I have to tell you, because there's ways of teaching New Thought that's basically like you prayed well and therefore you're healthy. Or you're connected to God and you're holy and therefore you're not going to get sick. And if you did, it means there's something wrong with your consciousness. And it gets taught and spread around, and it is so disgusting, I have to tell you. And I think it is so different from what is true and real about the mystical understanding of oneness and our power and our creative force and our capacity to heal and transform. That has nothing to do with whether we get sick or have symptoms from a vaccine. So that's what I was fighting about this week. I'm like, yes, it's okay to have symptoms. Doesn't mean you're less holy. Stop it. You're grossing me out. You're teaching bad public health. You have to be responsible. Didn't work, but I tried. And what's really interesting about all of this, right, is examining these places where things are taught not because they're true, but because they make it feel like we're in control. Make it feel like we understand and have a way that we can teach. And I have to tell you that my understanding of how spirit works is so much deeper and more profound when I let go of that. When I let go of the idea that I have some understanding of the bigger picture about what's going on. So there's this great old story about a man who walked into a little mom and pop grocery store and asked, "Do you sell salt?" And the proprietor said, "Ha, do we sell salt?" And he showed the customer one entire wall shelves stocked with nothing but salt. Morton salt, iodized salt, kosher salt, sea salt, rock salt, garlic salt, seasoning salt, Epsom salt, every single kind of salt imaginable. And wow, so the customer said, "You do sell salt." And he said, "Well, you think that's something? That's nothing. Come look." And so Pop led the customer to the back room. And this room was filled with shelves and bins and cartons and barrels and boxes of salt. And he said, "Do we sell salt?" And the customer said, "Unbelievable. You really do sell salt." And he said, "Well, you think that's something? Come on, I'll show you salt." And so the pop led the customer down the steps into a huge basement, 5 times as large as the previous room, filled floor to ceiling with every imaginable form of salt, every shape, and even 10 huge pound salt licks for the cow pasture. And the customer said, "Incredible, you really do sell salt." And Pop said, "No, that's the problem. We never sell salt. But that salt salesman, oh boy, does he sell me salt." All right, stupid story. But I think there's a message here. And the message is about both what we're focused on and as well as the energy that we're bringing to things. Like, what salt are we being sold? Are we selling that salt? And do we want to be participating in the growth of consciousness that allows for us to know when we've put our focus on the wrong thing? Because I feel like sometimes we have to get jostled out of that. And we get jostled out of that in all kinds of ways. And so, I was thinking back to something one of my mentors told me when I was in the midst of all of this change in my life. And she is now on the other side. She passed away shortly afterwards. But she said, "Kylie, when you came into this," because I was the young one, right? Of course. But I was 23 years old. And they were looking at me like, "What the hell are you doing?" And I probably should have been looking at myself like, "What the hell are you doing?" But she said, "I told you at the time," and I can remember this conversation very, very clearly. She said, in our first class, she said, I think who you are is too big for this. And there's this sense in which, the salt that we're selling can sometimes be too big for those who are buying. And we have to let that be, whatever that is, because we hit resistance when we're not playing with the people we should be playing with, when we don't have the right people on our team and around us. And so I'm just in so much gratitude for just that realization and the space to have allowed that to really sink in. So there's this story about a church in July of 1969. And it was on a Sunday morning, and the pastor was really stirred by the news of the first man to walk on the moon. He was really moved by this and gave a sermon about the beauty of change and how it inspired him to hope, and that there's this little lady in the back who stood up in the middle of the sermon and said, "Why can't we forget about all these newfangled ideas about going to space and be good and content to stay at home and watch television like the good Lord intended?" And I love that story. And I love that story because it feels so real, right? Like, especially when we're in the midst of big change. There's part of all of us that wants to say, I'd rather hold on to that which I thought was going to get me there. I want to hold on to that idea I had about what was true. I want to hold on to that and doesn't want to let go into the uncertainty that allows us to open to this deeper sense that the change that is calling us, that is something that we can be grateful for instead of resisting. So recently I was listening to an interview on the radio of someone who had been making movies on location in Mumbai. And the interviewer was asking the director if all of how he dealt with like all of the uncertainty of that environment, like being actually on location in Mumbai and all of that which showed up. And what the director said, I thought was really beautiful, which is that he said that he refused to look at anything that came up in the process of that as a challenge or a setback. And instead, he saw everything as adding to the authenticity of the world that he was presenting. And that the challenges actually added to the beauty of what he was able to do. And I was struck by that because I don't know about you, but I don't often experience challenges and setbacks as something that was adding to the beauty and the authenticity of the experience. But I think it's a really beautiful perspective, and especially now, right? With all of the uncertainty, with all of the things we're being asked to let go of, all of the things we're being asked to re-examine. Like, there is this really beautiful sense that we're being propelled into something else, and that there's an opportunity to take this, all that we have learned during this time, and really take it into a deeper place. So Mark Nepo has this beautiful book about what he learned from his cancer experience. And this particular part is something that I remember when I'm in the midst of forgetting and remembering again this deeper path that we're always called on. And I just love the way he expresses this. There are certain experiences that reform us, as if God's a tireless blacksmith who, against our pleading, forges the metal in us, though it takes years for our heart and mind to cool from the pounding. My journey with cancer is how I was forged. We are meant, it seems, to come apart and come together so that we can discover who we are at the core. We are meant, it seems, to be rearranged by those who care, who are meant to accept suffering and care as our teachers, our mentors, as tools used by time to shape us into what matters. Ultimately, each of us is born bathed in being and loosened into the world, into the paradox of feeling, to make our own way. Breaking and shedding, suffering and accepting. Each of us is like the mythic Qian of China, an enormously colorful bird that has only one eye and one wing. In the paradox we fall, needing to find each other in order to fly. And I just love both the energy of the fact that we need one another in this process of unfolding. That's one of the things that is most clear to me from this experience, and that I'm most grateful for. But also this idea that we're meant to come apart and come together again. That we are meant to do this, to be rearranged, to allow ourselves to be rearranged. And that we can be grateful for all of that, for its shaping of us, but not in the sense that it is often talked about in our culture. Like, I am grateful in spite of all of that, I persevered or I overcame. But instead, because of all of that, I'm softened. Because of all of that, I understand deeper what it means to hurt. Because of all of that, I understand better that suffering and care are teachers. Because of all of that, there's more space I can hold for all of the wholeness that is. And I think that there's something so deep and profound about that kind of approach, that if we are willing to really deepen in this experience that we're having together, both, this experience of uncertainty, but also this experience of I'm deeply sensing, like, getting in touch with how fragile all of the things that we participate in. Like, that there's this deep sense in which we are being asked to come apart and come together and be rearranged in a way that allows for us to really understand what we're here to do. And we can be grateful for it. We don't have to resist it. And ultimately, that which is birthed and created out of that can be something so much more beautiful than we could have imagined. And so I just have to take a moment to just express my great gratitude for, those of us who've, over the last 3 years, created that space where we recognize that we need each other to fly, and have leaned into each other and to this community to make it what it is becoming. And it was kind of interesting because we had all of this incredible momentum in last March, if you will remember. We had a beautiful concert and all of these new people excited about coming to church, and then everything closed. And so interesting to watch all of that unfold and watch the momentum change directions into something where we're reaching people all over the world that we weren't reaching before. So we want to say thank you if you're watching online for being part of this community, for being part of that bird that recognizes that we need each other to fly. And I'm just so honored to be walking this path with all of you, and thank you for standing with me. I was actually brought to tears last night when I was thinking about the 3 years ago when I got up on the stage at the Highland for the first time after all that bullshit, and I was just like, I don't even know what I said. I don't even think anyone knew what I said, because I was just like so overcome by the tremendous amount of love that showed up for me and for this community, and it's just kept on growing and changing, and I'm certainly grateful for that. So thank you for being part of the change, whatever that change looks like, and being part of that space, right? Thank you. And for being part of that space that allows for things to come apart and come together, and doesn't create a space that's just so defensive of what has been that we can't let something else emerge. And that is just something that I think is so important in organizations and in our culture and in our personal lives, that we create that space, because otherwise what we keep doing is demanding that things continue to look the way they always have, and it doesn't work. And so I'm just so grateful for all of you. I'm going to ask the band to come on up. Like I said, part of what has been so fun about this is that these guys made this journey with me. So very grateful, including playing out here this last almost year now, even when it's cold. Like last week, I don't think any of us could feel our fingers or toes by the end of it. I'm surprised you guys could still make your instruments make beautiful music, because, hoy, my nose, I couldn't feel my nose last week. It was quite amazing. All right, so we're going to sing into our prayer, and as we prepare the way for that, I'm just going to ask you to maybe think about some place where maybe you can just sense that there's some room you could create for some rearranging, for some change to happen, even though it might feel like it's an uninvited guest, that there's some invitation into a bigger space so that the core, that which is real, can be recognized. And we're just going to allow Spirit to move us today. So please join me as we sing into our prayer. So our prayer of love today is a prayer of opening to all of the change and transformation that is happening in every moment, all around us and in us. opening to the place we are in the cycle of the seasons and the cycle of life. I just recognize the presence and power of the One continuing to guide and direct us as we open ourselves to allowing ourselves to be rearranged without resistance. Allowing ourselves to be moved and changed, to come apart and come up together again, knowing that this too shall pass, whatever that is. And I just recognize the love guiding us in this, allowing us to hold the space not only for our own change, but for each other's changes. As we allow each other to grow and transform, to deepen into our awareness of the truth of the teachings of oneness. And I just recognize the peace and the power and the wisdom of the One right here and now. Knowing that we are right where we're supposed to be. And accepting this, we know we can go anywhere and do everything. And so we just allow the peace and the wisdom of Spirit to guide us as we open further into wherever Spirit leads us next. I just know that love is present. And I let go into that. In gratitude, I let it be. And so it is.
A prayer of love lifts us high. It heals us, sustains us, and sets us free. A prayer of love lifts us high. It heals us, sustains us, and sets us free.
I think they might have heard that. Thank you guys. That was wonderful. I was just thinking, I can't wait till I get to go hear you guys someplace when I'm not working. That would be awesome. Looking forward to that. Someday. We'll get there. All right, so I want to thank you once again, just whether you joined our community in the last few minutes or the last 3 years. Thank you so much for being part of us, the growing and the shaping and the changing that we've all experienced in our own way. And I'm so grateful to be on this path with all of you. I really deeply, deeply mean that. Yeah. And I don't want to cry. So, so I just want to say thank you, and thank you for your love and support. I want to let you know that there is a place on our website to make a donation if you're called to do so. Also, there's baskets hanging in the tree. Someone last year said, oh, money does grow on trees. So yes, we have baskets hanging from the trees. And we know spring is coming because I don't know if you guys heard it, but when I was praying earlier, the hawks were making noise, and they came back. They're coming back around, and they live in those in the trees across the street and build their nests out of the branches of these trees above us. So it's quite fun to watch them come and go and start making a lot of noise. So keep your eyes out. If you look over there later, you'll see some of the nests they're building, because without the leaves, you can see them. No, spring is coming, which means we'll see a lot more people out here as we warm up. So I'm grateful for that. And we're just going to play it by ear when it feels safe to be back in some sort of four walls, whenever that looks like. So please just bear with us until that happens. Some of you like it out here better than indoors. So yeah, so who knows? Who knows what'll happen? So let's see. Thank you for being here. Thank you for being part of this community. Thank you for helping it shift and change for the last 3 years. And I think we have a song to sing and then a blessing for one another. So let us sing.
Let's give thanks to the Lord, and we can feel alright. People get ready for the tree to come. Don't need no baggage, you just get on board. All you need is space, hear that diesel hum. You don't need no tickets, you just thank the Lord. One love, one heart. Let's get together and feel alright. One love, one heart. Let's give thanks to the Lord, and we can feel alright. People get ready for the train to Jordan, picking up passengers from coast to coast. Faith is the key, open the doors and board. There's room for all that love. One love, one heart. Let's get together and feel alright. One love, one heart. Let's give thanks to the Lord, and we can feel alright. Let's get together and feel alright.
And we have one last blessing to sing to one another.
Thank